Why scales don't work. Now, this particular one, why scales don't work, is an extremely controversial one. Now, this is one where I'm really going out there to really put it to you. Now, if you've been playing the saxophone for any length of time, and it's my assumption because I speak to people who are returning to playing the instruments as well as adult beginners, but my main target market is you who's returning to play the instrument. You've heard the same old story. Practice your scales, practice your scales, practice your scales. We've heard this over and over again. And somehow, mystically, we're told that practicing our scales, particularly your majors, your minors, your melodic minor, and your harmonic minor. So something like that's C and D major, or E flat major and F major concert pitch. Now, when you look at this, I've been able to play my scales for over 25 years. It has done very little, may I tell you, brothers and sisters, and may I tell you specifically, to improve my improvisation and other things. Them people lied. I'm going to say that again. Them people lied. And I'll say it a third time. Them people lied. Now, why did they lie? Well, here's the strange thing. It is like teaching a person the ABCs and believing that it will somehow transpire that they'll learn words. So scales are literally the alphabet of music, more or less. Well, notes of the alphabet. Scales are literally teaching people to say the alphabet backwards and forwards. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, W, V, X, Y, Z. Or Z if you're American. Now, I can say my alphabet, but quite frankly, apart from being able to say the alphabet, that doesn't help me to communicate any better. What helps me is being taught how to put those words together. So what has happened is that we've gone one step further. You've gone from learning to play the alphabet to learning what I call regimented words like cat or dog, right? Without fully understanding how they're going to be used. So when teachers actually say to you, play your scales, there needs to be a lot more qualification than that simple statement, play your scales. In other words, we need to ask, how do scales fit into music? I mean, let's go back to our one song challenge song. And if you're enjoying the one song challenge, you need to, I'm putting a link in below. This one. Scales only become relevant when they tell you how to play that song, right? Now we can break it down. The truth is the first interval is a fifth. What is an interval? Good question. Were you taught that when they taught you about this scale thing? And that's where the problems come in. Scales and theory go hand in hand, but here's the problem which most teachers don't tell you. Teaching scales is easy for the simple reason that once you've got the pattern, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? And going backwards, you are able to put that pattern for all 12 keys and going up and down the saxophone. Even tough scales like F sharp major or F sharp major is a good example of it. You can get it with 3 or 4 tries. I won't go into this, but if you're interested in me actually playing it cold with 3 or 4 tries, showing you how I'm just using the sound of a scale to get that without really not knowing which note I'm playing. You know, that's how I learned it the first time. And though I do know it now, that's more or less how most people learn it. Sure, I can show you how to play F sharp major. Make sure you sign up for the one song challenge group though, and I'll do it in there. So one of the things you need to realize is that scales need to be related to a lot of things, but more keenly, scales need to be related to the objective, songs, right? This is an important point. They need to be related to songs, and they never ever are. So next time a teacher tells you, go practice your scales, ask them why, and really ask for a specific reason why. In fact, very few teachers I've found are able to fully understand why this is necessary. Take sheet music, which is more or less the written form of playing by ear. Scales appear in sheet music all the time, but if you're unable to recognize them, because what do? We're told to memorize our scales. Quite frankly, it doesn't help. It doesn't help for the simple reason that you ain't going to have a piece which has scale passages continuously. Those, we are a melodic instrument as the saxophone, which means this, and this is an important point, it means one thing and one thing most importantly. We play one note at a time. So as a result of that, Scales have to help us to play melodies and songs. Now, if scales do not help us to do that, what's the point of practicing them? Now, this is not a trite point. Practicing scales in and of themselves may give you good technique, but what's good is the idea of it giving you that technique if you're unable to use it. What I found with most people is most people can play their scales. And I'm not joking. Most saxophonists, intermediate saxophonists I meet, can play all 12 scales. Now, with varying degrees. Obviously, the C, D, E, F, G major scales happen to be played much better than your F sharp minors, and your B flat majors. But they can still more or less get around them. But the funny thing is, when they put a sheet of music in front of them, they can't recognize where the scales are. They can't recognize where fifths and intervals are. They can't recognize any of that. And the problem has got to do with how scales are taught. Now, there's a very specific way to teach scales around the center of songs and other things. Now, it's a bit, involved to go into, but definitely something which I'll be bringing to you. So make sure you check out the One Song Challenge. And remember that if you are asking yourself, why I've practiced all these scales, I can't improvise any better, it's because there's a missing chunk. And the missing chunk is, how do I take scales to make melodies, riffs, motifs, and eventually full songs? And if we take it to the ultimate thing, you're using scale sequences to play an entire concerto, which is 3 movements and half an hour. You're not alone. This is not taught properly. People simply believe if you can play C major, you relate it to everything else. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. So thank you very much. If you like this video, make sure that you give a like, but more importantly, go and join my One Song Challenge group, where I bring you much more of these videos and go in depth on some of the mysteries of playing the saxophone. So it's been great being here. So until I see you again, remember to play your sax now.